Welcome to The Passion Pod with your host, Chris Johnson. Thanks for joining us. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the feature presentation.
Season 5, Episode 1.
Welcome back, friends. Today we are out in Los Angeles with what I'm hoping will be our funniest guest today, but we'll see. Our guest today is originally from Chicago, but worked his ass off, found a home in the TV world out in California. Perhaps most notable for his role as Winston in the mega popular show New Girl that I never watched for whatever reason, but I should have. He now also has a new show on Hulu called Woke. Welcome to the show, Lamorne Morris.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Also, you're on an island, man. You're the only one who hasn't watched it.
I know.
Massive.
I know. I'm like, how did I blow this? All my friends tell me it's so good, and they all think Zooey Deschanel is like the hottest girl alive. And I'm like, yeah, she's cute. It's probably funny. I don't know, man. I don't watch TV. I need to get on it. But so I gotta give a quick shout out to my girl Celeste. Super nice. She's the one who made this connection. So she's here with us. Can you introduce yourself and say, I don't know, something about yourself? Fun fact.
I'm Celeste, aka DJ Foxy Lady, and something interesting, I'm left-handed and a Scorpio.
I'm right-handed and a Taurus, and everyone tells me that I'm definitely a Taurus because I'm a pain in the ass, I think.
I don't know about astrology or zodiac things.
What's your sign?
Leo.
Oh, Priscilla's a Leo.
Hey, what does that mean? I don't know. Everyone always has a different reason or a different thing. They go, "Oh, you're a Leo, man. This means you like cigarettes." I go, "What the fuck are you talking about? Doesn't equate at all." And it's always something that they know about you already. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes I have a short fuse, and they'll go, "Oh, what's your sign?" I go, "Leo." Yep, makes sense. You would have said that no matter what sign I was.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's usually what it is, right? Is those things are written out to be like, well, pretty much anyone could fit in this if you like looked at the situation the right way. Mm-hmm. But anyways, for anybody that isn't familiar with you, which everyone but me was already familiar with you, who are you and what are you passionate about?
Let's see. I am a soulful individual. You want specifics or you want like in terms
However
of
you want to describe yourself.
I'm a soulful guy. Very passionate about everything except for the things I'm not passionate about, in which I am the laziest guy you will find. I'm an actor, a performer. I'd like to say an entertainer because I like to do all kinds of things in the space. I just got lucky with acting, So that's who I am. And what was the other question?
What are you passionate about? What's your life for? What are you trying to do? What's the purpose of life?
I guess? Man, to heal. I want to heal the world. I want to heal the world with joy. Somebody asked me the other day, they were like, why is laughter so important? And I thought, well, the cause of the biggest cause of death is stress-related health issues.
Right.
So laughter is a stress reliever. If you can laugh your way through life, like the Joker is dealing with a lot, but that man was laughing and living, you know what I mean? So I just feel like if you're laughing, your life would be a lot easier and you're, a lot less stress on your heart. So that's my mission is to bring joy to the world.
Well, you brought joy to a lot of people. And I agree. I think, in general, especially with COVID and everything else going on, everybody needs a little bit of an uplift. So everyone needs to go back, rewatch all of New Girl because you're sitting around and not doing shit. So that's what you should be doing. So, I'm sure a lot of people already know what's up with you. But how can people best follow you? And if they were trying to get in contact and don't know Celeste or me, how can they best get a hold of you?
Instagram and Twitter. I would say Instagram's probably the best way. I check my DMs once a week, possibly, something like that. So I see everything almost. I see even the occasional kid that he does this religiously. He's going to get a shout out. I'm not going to say his handle, but he knows who he is. Maybe for the past 2 years, I always get I f*** you. I always get to find it. I just don't block him. I just see him and I just laugh. He's like 12 or something. I don't know how old this kid is, but I think it's funny. So I see everything. So my Instagram is at Lamorne, Lamorne. Just hit me up,
Yeah.
You get a lot of messages?
I get a ton of messages. But it's usually based around like something that I post. You know what I mean? If I post something message worthy, I get a lot of DMs, whether people, especially like when you start talking politics. This past year has been so nuts. Like I've been posting a lot of weird stuff, and I get a lot of like, left, right, kind of hate. Either way, it's fun for me.
Is that a nice thing that when you post something like that, you don't have anyone immediately responding that other people can see? Is it nice to have that power, or is it frustrating that you don't really get to like show the entire conversation to people?
I would love to have all of it. Like if you're going to say you're talking about in terms of like having like crazy stuff that people don't see. I would love for people to like voice their opinions in my comments. Like people get aggressive in the DMs.
I'm sure.
Because, they don't want to get, it's like if I go on Beyonce's page, I mean, it's not like this because the levels are completely different. But if you go on like Beyonce's page and you write something stupid, like a comment, like Beyonce would post something, like she would have a nice dress on and I would go, I wore it better. Like I might comment that. I'll get 1,000 DMs from like the Beehive. You know what I mean? All of her like followers will just destroy me. You know what I'm saying? Like, or if they'll write it under the comment, I should say. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But if like they won't see it if I just DM Beyonce that like right. I wore it better. Like neither will she, to be fair. But like,
well, maybe Beyonce does see your stuff. You never know. But I've met a lot of people for my show strictly through DMs, and I try to tell people that. Like the episode that came out today, because what's today? It's February 22nd or something. But the episode that came out today was with my buddy Joe Sexton, who's a pro snowboarder from like my general zone. Mm-hmm. Well, so I posted the one today, and I had several snowboarder friends of mine, because I own a skateboard shop, so a lot of my friends snowboard, hit me up and say, how in the world did you get a hold of Joe? And I'm like, dude, I DM'd him. Like, I didn't know him. I just was like, yo, what would it take to get you on the show? And he's like, I don't know, sounds sick. We can do it.
That's
like,
dope.
Sick. You can actually do that with people. Maybe you can't like just, maybe Lamorne's not going to answer immediately and say, hey, come to my house right this second. But in general, the fact that people who think that you can't communicate just because somebody doesn't respond, they still probably saw it. They just probably didn't want to respond to it for whatever reason.
Or a lot of times, like sometimes I do. Like people, I've done Zooms for people's charities, like just from a DM. Like I've posted, it doesn't matter to me. Like if it's interesting enough, like I'll do it. I don't ask for money. Like I don't, have people pay me to put shout outs and stuff like. If it seems fun enough and seems cool, I'm down to do it. Like I've done podcasts like that before where someone will go, hey man, me and my friends are just fucking around. You want I'm like, all right, cool.
I mean, if you got time, why not? And it's a good time, why not have the experience? And it's nice when you can like, if you see somebody that's doing something that you respect, even if it's just like some funny shit, but you can tell they're having a good time and they're putting effort into it. It's nice to be able to just help other people out. You know what I mean? It just feels good. And if it's not taking anything other than your time, and if you're not that crazy busy that day,
exactly,
then why not?
My buddy Andrew King Bachelor, huge success. Like this guy he's one of the most talented people I've ever been around. Like when I say he can do everything, absolutely everything. I'm talking, he's the most athletic person I know. He's one of the funniest people I know. He's a dope actor. He does movies, TV, 20 million Instagram followers, the king of Vine. Like everything he touches turns to gold, right? We met, I think I was on my second season of New Girl, and he had maybe like 1,500 followers on like Instagram or something like that, or Twitter, I forget which one. He just DM'd me and was like, hey man, let's do a video together. And I was like, who the hell is this dude? And then I looked at it, I went to his stuff, looked at his page and was like, I don't know this dude, but he is brilliant. Like his stuff is great. And then before you know it, he's one of my best friends, and we've known each other since 2012, I think, at this point. Travel together, hang out. Like he's one of the homies now. And his career has like shot through the roof. I'm not saying it's because of me,
but what I am influence.
But what I am saying is that he took the initiative to just say, "Hey, I'm just going to message people, be in my stuff." He's like, I know I'm dope, and if they want to be a part of my stuff, he doesn't look at it like, "Oh, you're a celebrity or you're on television. I can't. There's no way I could message you." No, it's like we're all creative people. You might not have the numbers behind you yet, but you will. You know what I mean? And all you need is the right network of folks to kind of, shoot the shit with.
Right. Well, and you have to take that chance, right? I was interviewing this dude, Wayne Hoffman. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's like a pretty well-known mentalist and illusionist. He was on Ellen and a bunch of stuff. He travels all over. But I was talking to him, and he had said, and it was like on some kind of show that he was on, and I'm going to mess up the quote because I always mess this stuff up. But he basically said that he loves hearing the word no, because the more no's that he hears, statistically speaking, the more yeses that he's going to get as well. And it's just about like being okay with rejection, right? If you're okay with a bunch of people telling you no, and you just keep going at it, just like how somebody does when they're like a phone salesman, right? Telemarketer, you're going to get people saying yes eventually. And maybe if Lamorne says no, if you hit up everyone from the cast of New Girl, your chances go up a little bit higher. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how that works.
Absolutely. That's how I feel about sex. Will you? No. Will you? No. Will you? Yes. Ha!
Perfect.
Playing the statistics.
That's how it works. I want to get a little bit into like your career. We don't have to hit like the full detail of it because it's already been told.
Started
in
when
general,
I was a boy.
You did start as a boy in Chicago. That is true. And we were talking about the Bulls earlier. So you're from Chicago. When you were 15, you went from Southside Chicago to like the burbs. And then from there, at some point, you went out to New York. I don't know why, but you did go out to New York. And then at some point from New York, you went, I think in New York, you had gotten some kind of deal with BET. You were already doing stuff out there. And then you decided to move to LA. Can you kind of fill in the gaps of that brief little summary that I just said?
Man, so first of all, that is dope that you hit it right on the head where you said Chicago and then moved to the burbs. All these places call me like they don't respect the fact that I'm from Chicago. They say that I'm from Glen Ellen, Illinois, which I have no problem with because I did grow up there like 15 and up. But I'm from Chicago, man. Like put some respect on this city. Damn it. Even when you Google it, I think like Wikipedia, I change it and they change it right back. And I change it right back. It always says I'm from Glen Ellen. And I'm like, don't be taking away my street cred here.
For the clout.
Exactly. But, I started in high school just doing plays and stuff like that. Then I used to get kicked out of class a lot for joking around and like mocking the teacher, and I got kicked out of church a lot for doing the same thing. I would have to be like sent downstairs for mocking the preacher when I was like 5 or 6 or whatever. So I always had that thing where I like to just like mimic people from time to time. And then in high school, the same thing would get me sent to detention all the time. In detention, there was a woman who gave me a pamphlet for a place called Second City, Chicago, which is like the premier comedy place, like a training ground / place where you go perform, meet your future creating partners. It's the breeding ground for some of the funniest people. So I got a chance to go there, and from there, the rest is history, man. I moved to New York to work with BET. That was great. Lived in New York for a few years. Came to LA and went cold turkey. Like I just lost it all. Like I didn't know how to get into the business whatsoever. Was sleeping in my car at some point. And then that pretty much just turned into like the biggest trampoline I could like ever want. Like hitting rock bottom was like, okay, I only have my instincts to rely on at this point because I don't have any contacts. I don't have any like networking ability. I'm really bad at that. So if I get an audition, I'm not going to try to be the actor that they think I should be. I'm just going to be the best possible version of me because I know there's only one of me.
Right.
So if I do what I know how to do really well, they either want me or they don't, and I can't do anything about that. But I know if I try to go in there and read the lines the same way that 6'5" dude with green eyes is going to do, like they're going to give him the job 10 times out of 10. They're going to be like, we're going to go with Chris Hemsworth here. So I had to be who I was. I was late for an audition. It was Miller Lite commercial. They had asked me to, they said, did you read the script? And I lied and was like, yeah, absolutely. Put me in the room and the lines were on this big board, like right behind the camera. And they're like, and action. And I'm like, I do not know these lines. So I'm like out of my peripheral, like trying to look at them. And I'm improvising so much and I'm making up so much stupid stuff that they end up booking me for the job. And then the rest was history. They kept calling me to do the exact same thing. They're like, just throw the script away. And so I would make stuff up. Because of all those commercials that I did, I want to say 2009, 2010, did so many commercials that the casting director, Seth Yankowitz for New Girl, saw one of the commercials when he was at home, said, hey, we're casting this role and we don't know who that guy is. Maybe he'll be right for it. So they figured it out, called me in, and then 15 auditions later, I'm on New Girl, So that's kind of how the trajectory went. And then from there, just a little bit of luck for a lot of other stuff. Because I'm on TV, it helps to get other jobs and movies. And, Woke, for example, is that show kind of summarized my life in a way. Being a black dude that people go, you don't sound black. Like, are you sure you're black? Like, I'm blacker than you. I would get those microaggressions all the time. And then there's a show that's about that very thing. And I was like, if I don't get this job, so it worked out. And here we are about to do a second season.
Well, here we are doing season 5 of my show. Like, that's really the important part.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And I didn't have to leave my home to do it.
God damn it, that's where you're at now. You just snap your fingers, people come to you.
Y'all come to me.
Did you, for acting, I mean, so you were a drama kid in high school and all that, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever do any additional schooling that was actually for acting? Or, like, I'm confused as far as how you got the hookup with to do the BET stuff in New York when you're in Chicago and then you're in the suburbs of Chicago at 15. How in the world are you all of a sudden doing stuff out there?
Wow. So yeah, I did I started doing community theater in Chicago, I didn't know what a comedy group was. Like, I didn't know what that was, up until right before I went to Second City, where this girl I was doing this community theater thing with was like, hey, I do these little sketch comedy shows out in St. Charles if you want to come. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm down. Went out, start playing with those guys, and the rest turned into learning more and more about, okay, once I take this step, then what's next? I was always looking to see what was next, which was a gift and a curse because I could never really be in the moment. I was always my head was always in the stars. I was always like, okay, but I have this goal. I want to be in movies and a TV show. Those are the things that I want to do. How do I get there? You're like, okay, well, you're on the right path. You're in a comedy group. Okay, boom. Now you got to be good at it. All right, so it's a lot of rehearsals, a lot of practice, a lot of writing, a lot of just honing your craft. Then it's got to find an agent. How do I do that? Get headshots. How do I do that? Yeah, contact a photographer. How do I do that? I'm talking very macro, trying to figure out all those steps, right? So I ended up getting this agent in Chicago called Lily's Talent Agency, and when I went, it was a lot of commercials, and I was booking a good amount in Chicago. And then I remember BET coming in town. They did this nationwide casting call, looking for new hosts for new shows that they were coming up with. And I didn't know really what hosting was. I'd seen it before on TV. I was like, oh, is VJing? That's hosting? Oh, okay. I guess I could be a funny one, I guess. And they had this big casting call. But I remember walking by, and my friends were in line. I was trying to meet up with my friends, and the line was maybe 6 or 7 blocks long. The people just camped out, tents, sitting, waiting for hours and hours. And they did it in 6 or 7 major cities, right? So I called my agent and said, hey, I want to do this BET thing, but I don't want to wait in this long ass line. I have to go do 2 shows tonight. And she's like, oh, funny you say that. You don't have to wait in line. We're going to call you. Your audition time is at 4:00. You can just walk right up, say your name. They'll have and so that's how I did it. If I would have had to have waited in the line, I don't think I would have booked it. Me going right in, I was still I wasn't over it. I was fresh. I was coming right out of my car and ready to just go. And I booked it just doing what I do, being silly and stupid and goofy. And, I was listening to a lot of other hosts, rehearse, and they weren't used to the audition process. But at this point, I was so used to it. That's all I did for a living was audition, wait tables and audition, you know what I mean? And so I remember getting in, being by myself in the corner and just kind of running through stuff in my head. And the sides, the copy, whatever you want to call it, was so not me. It was just very VJ like, very like, yo, coming in at number 4 on the countdown, we got Mary J. Blige and all that. It was like, there's no way I can do that and take myself seriously. Like, so, and then people kept coming up to me going, hey, bro, like, how's this sound? And they would rehearse their lines in front of me to the person who they're competing against to get the job. And so some people would have really reads on it, like really just dog shit. And I'd be like, ooh, that's good. Go with that. That's gonna crush. I may as well leave now. If you about to bring this kind of heat, I may as well jump off of a bridge. God damn, you good. And I was like hyping them up, and people kept coming up to me, and I was like, why does everybody keep asking me to listen to their audition? So I remember going in, and I just completely improvised and threw the script away and was just mocking all of the stuff that I had to do. Like, completely was so cynical about the whole thing. And then behind the camera, I got lucky. And this doesn't happen like this, because when I say I got lucky, I mean there were 6 booths that they just pick and go, you go over there, you go over there, you go over there. Behind each camera was a different person, but you can't really see their face. It's so dark behind the camera. And they had all these people auditioning at the same time. Behind my camera happened to be the new head of programming for BET, named Reginald Hudlin. Reggie Hudlin also went to Second City. Reggie Hudlin, his thesis project in college as a director was House Party. So he knows comedy. Like, he was just straight up like you name it. I think Boomerang. He did Eddie Murphy. He's worked with everybody and mainly funny folks. But behind the other cameras were like kind of younger, we don't f with your type of humor people. And I would get that while I was working at BET. A lot of cats were like, man, that's corny, you know. But Reggie was like, I'm on board with this. Like, this is the type of left type comedy that we need for our network to go along with everything else. We need a full range of humor, not just one-sided comedy, you know. So Reggie happened to be the guy looking at my stuff, and as soon as I started mocking the countdown, all I heard behind the camera was, and he stopped me halfway through. Was like, "God, you're good, go home." And I was like, I guess I did a good job, or I didn't do a good job. I didn't know how to take it because he like, stopped my audition. And I left, and then I booked it. They called me in to do like this kind of reality show to pick their hosts. And Reggie just would always tell me, just do what it is that you do, and don't try to be anybody else. Because like, you fall into that. You're looking around and you're like, man, like Terrence J looks so cool, like doing that. I'm gonna try to do that, and I can't because I'm not cool like him. Like, that's not who I am. Like, just be your weird, silly personality self. And then they picked me for the thing. And I had a show called Hot Wired. It's like video games and gadgets. And I had a show called BET Now, where I would walk around and bothering people and with people and do stupid stuff and then throw to a video. So they let me do what I was gonna do. I would interview people without knowing anything about them. I would they would have me do fashion, like go on the red carpet and ask these folks about their fashion. And I was like, you do realize that I don't care anything about fashion, right? And they would go, yeah, that's the point. Like, we want you to be the one doing it. So I would like walk up to Rick Ross while he's wearing a t-shirt and jeans. And I go, Richard, tell us. I'd be like, tell us, what are you wearing? And he would look at me and go, Hanes. And like, it just worked out. It just happened to work out for me, 1, not caring, and 2, not caring, And I forget what your question was, but I think that was the summary.
Yeah. So I'm really interested here on this, because when you do something and you work really hard at it, and then all of a sudden you get this little, like, I guess larger than a blip of success because you have your own like show thing going on, but you do all this, and then you go to LA, and then all of a sudden it seems like nobody gives a shit. Do you feel like, I feel like you must have felt like you went through and you did everything you could and your best was doing something, and all of a sudden your best isn't worth anything? Was it that kind of feeling? How did you get the motivation to even want to do it still then after that?
Dude, you have, man, I want to say you have no idea, but you might, I don't know your journey, but for me, bro, it was man, I got into a dark headspace. Like when I say dark, I mean like really. It was just put like it was really dark, and it's like a mental space you never want to be in because you're questioning everything because you put everything on the line, and here you are sleeping in your car. Here you are like walking down the street. You know, I would walk down like Lankershim Boulevard in North Hollywood with my hands behind my back, just kind of strolling. You know, people thinking I'm just like walking. I'm really looking for money on the ground. Like I'm really just, if I walk enough miles today, like I'll find about $10 and change. And then that's how I was eating. And I got into a really dark place where I couldn't quite figure out if I wanted to do it anymore. I tried to go home. I tried to move back to Chicago. Just couldn't afford it. My mom sent me money and was like, "This is from my savings. You're out there to make it work for you." So, and I was gonna use that money to just come back home. I was literally going like, "Trust me, Mom, you have no idea. It just ain't gonna happen." And I got lucky, man. I got lucky. My buddy, God rest his soul, Chadwick Boseman, was like an influential person in my life. He, along with my buddy Ramses Jimenez, those two guys, like, first of all, Ramses is like my like right arm, like in life. Like he's one of the dopest folks that I've ever, that just exists, right? So, and him and Chad were working on a project together. So that's how I met Chad, was through Ramses in New York. And so now we're all out in LA. Chad hears that I'm like struggling financially and goes, "Hey man, a friend of mine is looking to move to LA and he doesn't care where he lives, but he's got money to pay rent." And I was like, "Oh, how much money?" And his friend moved in and paid most of the rent. You know what I mean? And let me stay in my bedroom. Like it was when I say a blessing, dude, it came from out of nowhere, and it kind of changed my whole outlook, because my outlook was very bleak. And like I said, man, I feel like I should stay here, And then I just started meeting a lot of cool people that were in my same position, that were like funny or talented musicians or aspiring writers. And they were all like, "Oh, dude, I sleep on couches." Like, "Oh, dude, I couch surf." "Oh, man, I'm in my car too." Like, I started meeting all these folks that were like that, and they were all like, "Yo, that's how you get to where you want to go. Like, you have to grind. Like, it's not, if everything is so easy, like, no one's gonna read your book when you write one. They're gonna be like, oh, he's a silver spoon in his mouth. Everything was handed to him. He didn't have to work, and she just didn't grind whatsoever. You don't want to really hear that story. You want to hear the story about Tyler Perry being in his car for that long, then turns into a billionaire from creating this empire of things. Like, those are cool stories. So I don't know, man. I feel like that was that mentality, that hitting the floor, hitting that rock bottom. That's how I found the motivation in the community of people that were around me. I remember my friend Stacey Barth, who's a dope songwriter. She would have people come over to her apartment, and I would always like, quote unquote, like, crash on the couch or be coming over for dinner. You know what I mean? Just like, and because she would have like dope little gatherings, but she was so kind to not even mention like that I didn't have she would act like she didn't know. She knew, but she'd be like, "Hey, you want to crash? You crash on the couch. You want to?" And I look back on those days, like Frank Ocean used to be over there all the time before he was big. Like Hit Boy, who was in Paris with he was like hanging out on the couch all the time. Like my current writing partner right now, like hanging out. That's how I met him. It was this sea of like creative folks that kept me like motivated for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think you get that's like it's those time frames in your life where you can really develop empathy and grow as a person. And I think those end up being really useful skills to you later on. And that's what's cool is when you see people that give and give and give to others like that and give to you in that way, then all of a sudden when you're in a position because you work hard to give, you're much more likely to help those people when you see somebody that just needs a little bit of help. Because a lot of people, like that's the biggest problem with America in my opinion, and this is getting political slightly, but my biggest problem with America is that for whatever reason, not everyone understands that we don't all have the same opportunity. They just say work harder. Well, that's not how it works for everybody. Not everybody has the exact same opportunity. But when you are, put in a position like that where you have nothing and somebody else helps you and you recognize like you couldn't have even done it without this person's kindness, then it puts you in, you know what I mean? It gives you that empathy to be able to help other people.
100%.
Can you give us more information about your personal relationship with Chadwick, or just how he was as a person?
The dude was the most driven and focused guy. I'll give you a quick story about, I was auditioning for Selma. I didn't get the role. However, it was my first time being put through the fire of auditioning. It was scary. I hit him up and I said, hey man, I'm auditioning for this movie, Selma, to play this character, John Lewis, and obviously I'm on New Girl, and I'm so used to telling all these jokes and being weird and silly. I just rehearsed it. It is bad, and I was like, I'm trying to focus on trying to figure out how to get. He goes, hey man, I'm gonna come through, but be ready to work. I was like, all right. Busy dude. I think he was doing he just finished doing a Jackie Robinson movie, and so I was like, he's gonna come over here for 10 minutes and be like, oh, you're fine, you're good. Dude was at my house about 3 hours, grilling me, and I say, and me again, I'm very silly, so I like to make jokes when there is no joke to be made. I'm the guy who makes a joke at a funeral. I'll probably make a joke at my own funeral. You know what I'm saying? And he was not having it. He was like, let me tell you something. I'm good. I don't have to be here to help you, but if you want this job, you gotta sacrifice. Throw all the jokes out of the way. There's ain't no comedy in this movie. Think about the time that those folks were going through, marching for civil rights. Imagine marching just to get basic human rights. And he goes, what's funny about that? And he goes, so right now you asked for my help, and I'm here at your house helping you, but you ain't taking it seriously, so you're not going to get the role. It's you got to start taking it seriously yesterday. And when I say grilled me, and I ended up, he sat with me for hours and hours and hours afterwards, and we were just talking, and then he was he called me the next day before I didn't have to remind him what time my audition was. He called me maybe about 30 minutes before my audition. I was like, hey man, I just want to give you words of encouragement. I grilled you because you're really good. It's you're really good, but I feel like you take yourself out of moments by being self-conscious and going with the joke. He's like, if you stick to everything that we worked on yesterday, he's like, I guarantee you probably get this role. He's like, it's a likely chance you'll get this role. He's like, you did a great job. He's like, so just go in there focused, and again, ain't nothing funny about this moment. I was like, all right, cool. I didn't get the job, but it was one of my best auditions. The casting lady was literally tearing up in the room. I was just too old. I was just too old for the role. It was supposed to be a young 21-year-old John Lewis or something. I think I was 30 at the time, maybe even a little bit older. So I was like, no, I'm not going to get this part. But that's how he was. He's very dedicated towards helping folks and towards his passion, which is writing and acting. So yeah, those are a couple stories. A quick story about Chad.
Yeah, I mean, when you see the most successful people in a lot of industries, Tony Hawk's a good example, right? Everyone knows that name. If you ever hear people talk about him during his career, when he was doing all those tours and everything, everyone will say that he was a pro's pro, right? Because just because he was already successful, right? You were already doing New Girl, you were already doing your thing, doesn't mean that you shouldn't perform at your highest level and give it absolutely everything you can, because your potential could be so much more than what you're currently at, right? The ceiling doesn't have to exist. It just depends on how much, effort you're willing to put in.
100%.
When I was a kid, here's a dumb little monologue. I went to a Christian school, and every Wednesday we had to sing at mass, right? We had to go to mass, and the music teacher would always select 3 kids, and they'd go up and they'd like lead the chorus, verse, refrain, whatever you want to call it. But they would do that, right? 7 years there. I went from kindergarten through 6th grade. She never picked me, like not one time. And I was so bitter.
You wasn't putting out.
That's what I'm saying. So I was in 6th grade, and I remember I was in 6th grade, and I finally had I thought I had the balls anyways. And so I talked to her, and I was like, look, like I get I'm not great, but like really not one time? Just thinking like we're coming up on the end here. This is your last opportunity. And she goes, singing's just not for everyone.
Oh, no. No.
And then all these years later, so I always had this thing like, man, my voice sounds so stupid, because everyone thinks that, right? And then years later, all of a sudden, I'm making money off my voice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look here.
Yeah. Subconsciously, that's probably what led you to it. You never know, man. You never know.
So New Girl was the big thing, right? We'll kind of like talk on that briefly. So New Girl is where really everything took off for you. You went from sleeping on people's couches, walking around for $10 and change, hopefully $10 and change so you could buy Chick-fil-A or whatever. And all of a sudden you are in the limelight and you're making actual money. What was the first like give back thing that you did? The first time where you're like, I got to do something because all of a sudden now I'm in a position. What was the first thing you did?
Ooh. I want to say, well, I definitely helped pay off some loans for folks, but I want to say retire my mom. Like that was that has been a goal of mine no matter what. Like I always wanted to do that, because I see how hard she worked at the post office for, I don't know, 40 years or something like that. I have no idea, but probably like 40 years, I think. And so I wanted to make sure that she was taken care of. So that was my first big thing. I want to say I bought our house before I bought my own house, maybe.
And then you bought my house.
And then I bought your house. And then I bought I'm buying your house soon. No,
well, you're going to make me move out. It's going to be rental now.
No, so that's probably it. And then I really started getting into just charitable work. That's something that, my mom, again, has instilled in me since I was a kid. We used to go to nursing homes every Sunday after church and like sing to the older folks and like, help out the staff with the patients there and the people in the facility and give them food and, come by and just like go to different rooms and just talk to them. Because a lot of those people don't have people to, just communicate with. They're kind of left there, so they don't see family members sometimes for months, sometimes longer. So we would do that a lot as a kid, and I didn't know why we were doing that. I was always like, I don't want to hang out with all these old people. They smell weird, like that old dude's dick is out. Why do I want to be here? I know he's old, but isn't that a crime? Like, so I would literally, I would see all that kind of stuff at these nursing homes sometimes. And it was, as I got older, I started realizing what that did to me. You just, there are people who are less fortunate, man. And so I just always feel the energy behind it, behind wanting to help and give back. And so that was in that space a lot, but like on the nose, my mom retiring, my mom buying her house and stuff like that.
Well, so where's the quote from? Was it Barkley who said that he's not a role model? Was that the dude who said that?
Charles Barkley.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so I can't quote you right because whatever. But anyways, I was watching an interview with you before, and you were talking about how it is kind of an obligation for people, right? It should be if you're in a position where you can affect change for people, and even if it's not a money thing, if you just have a ton of followers on Instagram and now you have a platform to be able to spread things. It is kind of people's obligation, right? Like, how can you better the world? You don't have to be Gandhi and like do everything, but if you're in a position where everything's working out for you now, you should be trying to do something to better the world a little bit. Yeah,
I mean, and it could be at your own pace. It could be at your. I mean, every little bit counts. Every little bit helps. Doesn't have to be monetarily. It could literally just be the kindness of your heart of talking to someone, talking to a fan. Giving a speech at a school, you know what I mean? Stuff like that you never know really motivates people. Like it truly does motivate, when folks, like I can't tell you how, so a huge basketball fan, right? Like one of my favorite players growing up was Antoine Walker. He's played for the Celtics, but he was a Chicago guy. So they had this like Nike Pro-Am Classic or something like that happens in Chicago. And so I think my mom took me there when I was a kid, and I just remember seeing Antoine Walker and I'm still this way. Like when I see celebrities that I admire, I don't want to go talk to them. Like I'm still super shy in that. Like, oh, I'm so scared. I can't. There's no way. Like, I don't want to bother him. I don't want to get in her. What if she's mad at me? You know what I mean? Stuff like that goes through my head. I can be at an event with that person, with not that many people, meaning we both were invited, and I still will go, she's probably tired of it. She hears it all the time. There's no way I'll do it. Antoine Walker, I remember freaking out. I'm like, my mom was like, just go talk to him. I was like, no, I can't. She's like, go talk. She gave me a piece of paper and a pen. Just go get his autograph. And I walked up. I was like, Mr. Walker, is there any way I can have your autograph? And he was like, yeah, little dude. He turns around. This is a real story. He had all this jewelry. He takes off his jewelry and gives it to his boy. Then turns around and signs the autograph. And like gave me a fist bump. And then turned around and put his jewelry back on. But what that said to me, because in Chicago, in certain parts, in like the like Jack boys would just like snatch your Rolex off or like rip your chain off your neck. Like that happens, in certain neighborhoods. So he was like, even though he knew that was a possibility, he's like, I'll take all my jewelry off and I'll still sign this autograph for you. That let me know. No matter what, like he motivated me. Like till this day, like anybody ever asks for a photo or an autograph or something like that, I say yes all the time. I could be sitting down eating a meal. I'm not one of those people that's like, can you wait till I'm finished? Because I know you got other stuff to do too. All I'm doing is eating. Like I came out in public. Like I understand when folks don't want to be bothered when they're eating. I definitely understand that. But also I came out in public, and I can't complain if somebody wants a photo, because there was a time where no one wanted a photo. And it felt horrible because working at BET, like I would get cats that would come up and ask for like, pictures or, hey bro, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. Like a little success that way. Then moving to LA, then hitting rock bottom. I remember one time I was on the bus going to an audition, and this girl was with her boyfriend, and she goes, hey, can I get a picture with you? I'm sitting across, and I had my hoodie up, and I was like, yeah. And she's about to get up and come sit next to me. He grabs it and was like, yo, that ain't him, stupid. Why would he be on the bus? And I that was one of the lowest feelings of like, oh, bro, you fell off. Like, oh, you really, really fell off. This is what it feels like to be like a has-been. That's why I felt. Those are the things that were going through my mind. Unnecessary thoughts, obviously, and untrue thoughts, but it just made me feel a certain type of way. And so now if somebody asks me for a photo, I'm like, yeah. And never forget that I gave you this photo. Like, always remember that I am somebody to you. Please be a fan forever.
Yeah, no, I used to go to like demos for pro skateboarders all the time as a kid, like because those were the people that I looked up to. And I was telling you this off mic ahead of time. Like, it can be funny where like pro skateboarders to me are still the biggest celebrities, more so than pretty much anybody else, just because that's what I grew up with. Yeah. And I'm like, when I meet them. But so I had met pros at demos and stuff, and the effect that it has on you when you get what I like to call cool guide, where they just don't give a like it like really affects you. But then when you have the opposite from a pro and they're just like, yeah, man, cool. It like the effect that the impact that you can have on somebody with such a small moment, it's so powerful. And I feel like a lot of people lose sight of that over time because it happens so much. But it's cool when you talk, like when I can talk to somebody like you that it happens to you all the time, but you still remember like, whoa, like I may be sick of it right in this moment, but this 15 seconds this is going to take me, this dude's going to be thinking about this for the next 3 years or whatever. Like,
oh, for sure. Sure.
We're getting near the end of the interview anyways, but I want to talk about a little bit about like goals, and we'll talk about where you're going, right? Like you're just talking, you're going to do season 2 of Whoa, but you accomplished a whole bunch, but you're not the king of the world yet, right? No. So if all of a sudden you were to die in like a month, what are the things that you really, really want to accomplish with the rest of the time that you do have? Maybe you have 5 years, maybe you have 100 years, but in general, what are the big things that are on your list? Like, these are the things I really want to accomplish that I haven't done yet.
It honestly would be, if I knew I had 5 years left, I would quit acting. Like I would quit entertainment completely and just spend all my time focused on family and friends. That I will say the setback to chasing this dream for so long is that you do at some point lose touch with people. Like you definitely do, because it's such a hard thing to accomplish that sometimes it takes too much focus, where you go, damn, I haven't spoken to my mom in 2 days, 3. I thought I'm used to talking to my mom all the time, but then I go, damn, I didn't call my mom today. Like I feel like that's in my family, like it's not excusable. Like you can't, and you have moments like that, and I haven't seen cousins and aunts and uncles in so long, that's the drawback, is that it definitely takes you out of touch with people, and sometimes out of touch with reality, where you start to think that because things are given to you so much in certain aspects of your life, that's how everything is supposed to be. And that's why you need family to remind you that you ain't shit. Like you still ain't shit. So I definitely would quit the business and start focusing more on like hanging out with family and, building a family, those types of things.
So now that you're not going to die, people following you now, because everyone's going to go search. You gave the handle because nobody else knew how to spell Lamorne, just like I didn't know how to spell Lamorne. Where'd the E come from?
I don't know.
It was
It's
coming.
silent, but it's sexy.
So, well, that's very true. And one name?
Yeah.
Like Seal?
Yeah.
So anyway, so what can people actually expect to see from you, though? Like I said, I know Woke season 2, like that's going to be coming up, but what else can people expect to see now that they're going to hop on and follow you on the gram?
Man, a range of things, because the next, I want to say 5-6 movies, they're all different. Shooting some like hard comedy stuff, but at the same time shooting some hard drama, some horror movie stuff where I play a weirdo. It's I definitely wanted to use this time to experiment and explore a little bit. And they could also expect things off the camera, if that makes sense. So I'm doing this podcast. Me and a buddy, Kyle Chevron, created this podcast called Unwanted. Yeah, he's my writing partner, one of the funniest people. We created this thing starring myself and Billy Magnuson and Jamie Lee O'Donnell, where it's a scripted podcast. It's about these two guys trying to catch the most dangerous woman on the planet. But it's all audio. But when you listen to it, you're immersed in this world so much, and it goes by so fast, and it's dope. And it's 8 episodes of just like it's our homage to 80s action comedy films that we love so much. I grew up on Lethal Weapon and Beverly Hills Cop and, 48 Hours and things like that, and Rush Hour. So you kind of like we added all those elements into this movie, and we got a sick cast to go along with it. And for all the New Girl fans out there, we got Jake Johnson in the season. So I just want you guys to know that Jake is in there. And even though it's audio, he's not wearing pants.
What a stud.
And it is a sight to be heard. The cast is sick. I don't want to list the whole. Go to my Instagram and you'll see it. Like I think my last post I posted on there has all the names of the cast members that are in it. I get to wear. Another cool thing about it is my buddy. I want to say Derek Zonka, DeMarcus Dogan, Monty. I've known Monty for since I was in college, and I still can't pronounce his last name. So. Something. Anyway, Monty, I love you, but I still don't know his last name. Scott Richards. I get to work with folks that I really haven't worked with so much, and we came up together though. So it's some folks in there that are kind of on the up and are kind of unknown, but some of the funniest, dopest people that you will meet. So when you listen to the podcast, like they're voicing some very cool, funny parts in it. But then a lot of other voices you hear in there are people you've heard before and you've seen before in movies and TV. And hopefully this will be the beginning of kind of breaking a lot of those other characters into like a bigger thing, because if we turn this into a series, like they're all in it, you know what I mean? And so that's the goal for this one. So when you go to my Instagram, you'll expect more of that, more things in that nature, you know?
And no, you're not gonna have no pants photos coming up. Are those in the works? Are you gonna do a model like a underwear ads?
Well, those are floating around.
Okay, perfect.
Those are floating around. Again, unwanted, unwanted pics.
Why the name Unwanted?
Well, it's a play on the fact that this is she's wanted, like she's the most dangerous woman on the planet. But the two guys who are kind of helping, the two guys who are catching her are the most unlikely people. They're not cops. They're just a bunch of like potheads who have no bit. But they're like, oh, she's a girl. We can catch her. It's crazy. But like, no, she's Jean-Claude Van Damme on steroids. Like she's legit. And so they're in way over their heads. And because they're the most unlikely, and then she's wanted. So he kind of, they don't know. The police don't want them on the case. I think that's the premise behind it.
Makes sense.
I just you have to share this story you told me when we first met, but tell them how you used to like around with people at restaurants.
Oh, you mean at when I used to work at a place called Ed DeBevick's. If you're from Chicago, or they had one in Beverly Hills years ago. I think they had a few locations around the U.S., but the ones in Chicago are the OGs. So this place used to walk up to people. Like you wait tables, but they would call it fresh service, based in the 50s. I would walk up to people's tables, drinking their milkshakes, or like eating their French fries, or like talking just the craziest shit you could possibly talk to people. I once waited, and it was in a predominantly white neighborhood, so I would make sure everybody felt racist about not tipping me. Like I would make sure I'd be like, I just counted all my money, guys, and I'm about $20 short of y'all being racist. So somebody better pay up, like, or y'all not being racist. So I would do stuff like that all the time.
You would around people by like going up and pretending to get like be the waiter.
You're talking about outside of Yeah. Oh my God, I do that. I still do that.
You still do that?
Yeah, I still do that. I'll go to restaurants. And walk up to people and be like, hey, nice to see you. Good to see you again. Like, you guys want to start off with some apps? Maybe like a grilled cheese or stuff like that. And people will be like, you work here? I feel like I do it now, and people get confused. They think I fell off as an actor. They think I'm like working at Denny's.
Dude, a job's a job, all right?
Oh, yeah.
At least you're not searching for $10.
Yeah, that's true.
I always like to share, well, I'm out of stories. Well, this is a cool story. I'm chilling here, and you have a dope-ass house.
Oh, thank you, man.
But I always like to say, when you do something that you're passionate about, you typically take kind of a unique path, right? You end up having a lot of really cool experiences. Mm-hmm. So one, maybe you can pull one from New Girl, just because that's what, I want to hear something funny from New Girl. But what is one experience, something specific, what's a story you can share with us of something that happened to you that you're really grateful this happened, but it only happened because you pushed through and did this acting thing?
Oh, I want to say it's gotta be Prince. It's gotta be Prince. So my sister is a huge Prince fan. So growing up, obviously Prince was played all throughout the house. My sister has multiple Prince tattoos on her body. I think when she was 16, she gave herself a Prince tattoo on her thigh. My nieces, I think, now have Prince tattoos. So her daughters have. Prince is a big part of our family, I get the opportunity to work with Prince. Prince is a fan of New Girl, apparently. He said he watched 2 shows, The News and New Girl. That was it. So he wants to be on the show. He comes on the show. And the cool thing about Prince is that when he walks on to set, like everybody gets quiet. And I mean, I'm talking for like a month and some change leading up to his arrival. We're all on pins and needles. Like, I wonder what the episode's going to be about. Oh, I wonder where we're going to shoot it. I wonder if it's going to be like a big episode, or they're going to play a low key. Is he just popping in for a scene? Is he going to be we were so like, Prince wants to be on the show. And the writers did a great job of coming up with a concept that Prince throws a party. So we got to flood it with like celebrities and like cool. And it was like, I want to say our most expensive episode, because Prince also got to design it, because the party's at quote unquote his house. So he was like, we must have this, we must have that, we must have that. And he also picked our wardrobe. Like he had Zooey like fit with his custom tailor. and custom designer to like pick her wardrobe for the show. Which a lot of people don't get a chance to say. Prince picked out my damn clothes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I was grateful he didn't have me dressed like Captain Crunch, like how all his background dances always got zippers and tassels all over the place, look like marching band members. But I was grateful I didn't have to wear anything shiny, But in the back of my mind, I was like, damn it, why didn't he put me in heels? I was like, I wish Prince would have put me in heels. But he came on set and he had this cane with like a crystal on the top of it, and he had these heels, like clear heels with lights in them. And he just walked in, everybody got super quiet. And I'm talking, it's about 200 people on set, extras and crew members, and people who aren't supposed to be on set, but they know Prince is coming, so they're just on set, like studio execs they don't want to watch the episode about me on my period, but you damn sure want to show up to watch the episode where Prince is, y'all. So he shows up and everyone gets quiet, and he goes, "As you were." And everybody just goes about their business. He's like, goodness, still not used to it. And I was like, holy crap. So one time, I'm not going to say the story on camera. I'll tell you the story afterwards. But you could also find the story out there. Some people were cut out of the episode, right? Because Prince didn't want them in the episode.
Oh God.
And so what we did was, he said, "Oh, I'm gonna use this other actor she's part of my entourage, and she has to just come. She has to walk in, and she has to look surprised." He was like, "Hey, Lamorne." Everyone's standing around. He just pulls me out of like the circle. He goes, "Hey, Lamorne, come here. Is there any way you could teach her how to look surprised?" I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, she has to just show up and see me and be out of her mind and be surprised, but she's never really acted before, so can you just show her how to do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." He sits down and goes, he starts pointing to this, like, "Do it in front of me." And I was like, am I about to do a performance for Prince? I was like, and why do I feel like a little bitch? Like, I should have been like, "Nah, dog, I got a fee, bro." But I was like, anything you say, sir." I turned to that same little kid who's asking for Antoine Walker for an autograph. I was like, "Yes, sir, I'll do whatever you say." And then I show her how to look surprised, and he is enjoying it like with like childlike exuberance. He's literally clapping, like he's so excited. And it put a lot of things in perspective for me. One, Prince is the man. Like he just turned me into a prop quick. And then two, like he's so used to like performing for the world and like entertaining like billions of people. He's used to entertaining that for him it was probably like a quick reprieve from all of that. Like I get to like somebody dance for me for a second. You know what I mean? Like that's probably what it was. That's probably what was going on in his head. And I'd be glad to do it. Glad to do it. Like those folks out there who can't get a break from like always having to be so dope at what they do. Sometimes they just want to just chill and like watch a movie. I hear these stories all the time about like these big celebrities who can't go to the mall and they can't go to the grocery store. And like, I was talking with Vin Diesel. I shot a movie. I got lucky enough to shoot this movie called Bloodshot, and Vin's the star of the movie. And he was telling me a story about how I think he was in New York and it was in the winter, and this is before everyone was wearing masks, and he was wearing a mask, like a ski mask though. And he walked into he can't normally walk down the street. He can't go anywhere. So he went to get a coffee, I want to say, and he was like, "Well, they won't know who I am because I'm wearing a ski mask and like glasses or shades or something like that. So there's no way." But he had to still say his order. In the moment he started talking, they went, "Vin Diesel!" Like everyone started like freaking out. And then, I can't do an impression of Vin Diesel. His voice is just well beyond mine, but his very recognizable voice. So part of me is like, damn, man, you can't go nowhere. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I admire the folks who embrace it out the gate. Like you see Snoop walking down the street like it's nothing. And Snoop's one of the most famous people of all time. But Snoop walking down the street just embracing the people like, hey, just do it. Just once you just do it, like you can just be free and live and hang out and have fun. Like, so, you know, when Prince asked me to do it, I was like, no, there's no way Prince could just walk down the street. Like, my sister has a tattoo that she gave herself. So that's a whole different level. So, yeah, that's, I don't know what the question was again.
It doesn't matter.
You didn't bring your sister on set?
No, there were specific instructions to one, leave your phones in your trailers. It said if you can, don't even bring them to work. and don't invite anybody to set. I would have flown my sister out and had her on set in a heartbeat. But also, I know my sister. Okay, my sister would have embarrassed me and got me fired. You know what I'm saying? Like my sister would have acted like a goddamn idiot. So I'm glad I didn't bring her.
Wait. So you mentioned impressions earlier. Can you do your famous Denzel Washington?
Oh, damn. I've been drinking. No, I don't know if I can do it. Huh? I don't know if I can do it right now. It's been a long time since I've done it. Huh? You want me to sit here in my house, on my time, sitting here doing an impression of Denzel Washington for you, sucker? Huh? Oh, it's been a while.
Good.
Okay. Last hard question, which it seems like nothing was a hard question for you, but everybody makes mistakes throughout time, right? Everyone ends up messing up on something. You
Not
messed
me.
up at BET,
Not me.
obviously,
Not me.
and then
Not
you're on
me.
the street.
Not me.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So everyone makes mistakes, but that's when you learn from things. That's when you grow for the most part. So can you tell me about a mistake that you made that you learned a really valuable lesson from that maybe somebody listening can learn something from and put them in a better space?
Well, first of all, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Like, I've made a bunch. Like personal life, work-related. But I would say on a work-related front, the biggest mistake I've ever made in performance is trying to be other people. I'll give you a funny story. My first time on BET, I didn't know how to host. I didn't know what that was. I was like, I'm used to being an actor. Well, you create a character. Create my voice, I create my intentions, I create my backstory, I create the whole thing. Like I got a lisp or I have a limp, or I got one eye. Like you create this whole thing for yourself. Hosting, I was like, just speak with my normal voice. I was like, why would anybody want to hear this? So because during that time it was 2005 and it was like Chappelle's show was huge. I was so obsessed with Dave Chappelle. Still am. I had like a big painting in my room, like got a chance to hang out with him a bunch of times. Like Chappelle is numero uno to me. And especially back then, my first ever interview on BET, I didn't know how to talk. So I just went straight Chappelle. Started talking like this, man. My brother, I came home, my brother was like, he's like, why do you sound like Dave Chappelle? I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, you're talking like Dave Chappelle in all your interviews. I was like, no, I'm not. He's like, yeah, you are. I was like, in the back of my mind, I knew it, but I didn't think anybody else knew it. I was like, nobody else would know this, right? I was just doing a really good impression of Dave Chappelle. Like, it was so bad that I immediately had to like retreat from that. Cause I was like, oh, I don't want to be doing that. Like, so be yourself as much as you can. Cause every voice is unique. Even if you think you don't have a distinguishable voice. I don't think I have a distinguishable voice. However, from time to time, because of the masks and stuff now, I'll hear people going, I heard you talking, I knew it was you. And I'm like, how could you possibly tell it's me talking? And people who are fans of like my work will hear the voice and know it. And I never thought you could. I always thought like you gotta be Vin Diesel or Eddie Murphy or somebody for people to know who you, like to know your voice. But your voice is yours. So, and not just vocally, I mean, physically, everything, like use your own. There's nothing interesting about cookie cutter. Like we're talking about Denzel Washington, like he already exists. Like we don't need another one. You know what I mean? Be the best version of you that you can possibly be. And a lot of times when you're an actor, you get afraid of that. You really do. You're like, I want to do something completely different outside of myself. It's like, no, be yourself. That's gonna break you. That's gonna get you in. That's gonna be your calling card, because no one else can do it as good as you.
I will say, my name's Chris Johnson, and a lot of people have done it better than me. It's going to be hard to be the best Chris Johnson that existed.
Whoa, yeah. Shout out to Chris Johnson, who I went to high school with. He was one of the fastest people on planet Earth. He was a great runner. Sorry.
Were you talking about CJ2K? Because he was also super fast.
Oh, no, not him. Not that Chris Johnson.
Exactly. Okay. So moving forward, because we're at the end, I always like to ask this, although like you're already in a dope house, but somebody could still buy you a beer. But maybe just for like donating to a cause or whatever, how can people best support you moving forward, support the things that you're trying to do?
Well, what they could do is they could go and donate to iamonline.net, IAMM.online.net. Great charitable organization. It's a medical mission. They go to different places all over the world and underfunded places and give medical attention to regions and places that need it the most. Haiti, Jamaica, Belize, working on our Africa trip now. We just recently did a table read for Coming to America, like the old version of Coming to America. And we just did that for our fundraiser. Me and Lil Rel did it, and it was great, and it was really funny. Hopefully we can keep doing more things like that, but we need funding. We need awareness. So for those out there, IAMM online.net. You can go and just donate. There's no such thing as too little. We would like for you all to donate $100 million each. But if all you got is $1, we'll take it.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Passion Pod. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll see you soon.